No.
No, it's cool. We'll just start it from here. So, here's our course curriculum for tonight. What is money? You just went through the short history of currency, how money affects our lives, positive capital management practices, data management and personal finance, capital management and diversification, income statements and balance sheets, the importance of savings, asset management and alternative currencies, and then capital management and business infrastructures. So, there you go. I also want you right now to just come up with a few goals for yourself tonight and what you're trying to take from this course. I'm a huge believer that if you don't set goals for yourself, you'll never hit anything. So just take a second and kind of figure out what you want to get out of this class and then take that into consideration as we move forward. One of them has to be have fun learning. I feel like you wouldn't be here if you weren't having fun. So what is money? There are 5 specific qualities an item must have to be considered a currency. If this item in question does not have one of these qualities, it can't be considered a currency. So, one, definition of a currency is a medium of exchange for goods and services. In short, it's money in the form of paper or coins, usually issued by a government and generally accepted as its face value as a method of payment. Then we also have digital currency, which we've seen pop up in the last 13 years. A cryptocurrency is a digital currency or virtual currency that is secured by cryptography, which means it's nearly impossible to counterfeit or double spend. That's something I'll talk about later. Many cryptocurrencies are a decentralized network based on a blockchain technology, a distributed ledger enforced by a disparate network of computers. And by disparate, they just mean widely spread apart. Decentralized. Roles of a currency. So, we have unit of account, medium of exchange, store of value, an investment, and a standard of deferred payment. At the end of this lesson, you'll understand that currency is more of a social construct than it is anything else. It's something that we generally use so that we can all just be on a similar medium and live together easier. That's what I want you to learn. That's what I would like you to learn out of this class, at least. So, let's start with unit of account. A measurement for money. What is the value of a dollar? Inflation has a huge factor in the value of each dollar. It also allows for foreign exchange between countries. For example, the US dollar to euro or peso, Japanese, yen, there's so many currencies that I could talk about right now. But if we didn't have a unit to measure each one, we wouldn't be able to have equal and fair trade across continents. So how many different units of account do you need to sustain a monetary system? And I would point out, this is why we have $1 bills, $5 bills, and so on and so on. Or you do see Eastern-based commodities that sometimes still trade off of gold and silver standards. So take that into consideration when you're looking at what a currency actually is, because to many different people, it's actually many different things. So durability is a major factor when creating a physical or tangible currency, because not only does it have to keep your space in your wallet, but it needs to make sure that it can be held over long periods of time. That's why if you wash a dollar bill, it doesn't get broken up, because if that happened, we'd be losing immense amounts of money all of the time.
I've had a couple dollar bills rip up in the washer,
exactly.
Not gonna lie.
So our next one is medium of exchange. And this is to buy and sell goods and services. It increases market availability, and by that I just means that it creates more opportunities for us to trade, exchange, barter, etc. Good markets create productive and prosperous communities, and for the 21st century, New York City is the perfect example for that. If we didn't have a solid currency to lend, borrow, trade, barter with, none of this would have ever happened in America. And that's why the American dollar is so important right now. So we use a medium of exchange to pay our debts and taxes. And I don't have to explain to you guys how important it is to pay your taxes. You will end up in federal prison if you don't. It also allows for world trade and the optimization of global markets. I'm sure you guys have heard the term Forex before. So it simply means foreign exchange. FOR, foreign exchange. And that is the distribution and intermediaries between each currency. So example, gold, US dollar, Chinese yuan, Japanese yuan, or yen, Russian ruble, and cryptocurrencies. You can all interchangeably, for certain units of account, trade those currencies amongst each other. That's what is a huge glue to our continental communities and why we are able to grow and continue to move forward. Store of value. And this is an important one because we all want to be rich one day. So what is value? What gives an object value? And that is still a very loaded question, we'll say, because honestly, you can give value to anything. It's just, do you have the network to actually support it?
Right.
One thing that I would talk about with store of value is Bitcoin. In 2011, there was only a handful of people that even know what Bitcoin was, but it got caught on and it created a large network of people, and then that network grew because they believed in it as a store of value. And here we are. It's at a high of over $69,000 per coin, as well as a global monetary system that has now birthed over 25,000 other cryptocurrencies through its own clout, really. So this allows for wealth to be built over time. Great stores of value hold their place in time and space as well, like I was mentioning with unit of accounts. Now there's two different forms of value that we could talk about, and it's a fiat currency versus a representative currency. A fiat currency would be the US dollar, because the value of the dollar is based off of what our government says it is. A representative currency would be gold. Gold has a specific value, and it's backed amongst the global community and not a government structure. So when you're diagnosing a currency, country by country, these are factors that you're going to want to look into, because there are countries like ours that have fiat, but there are also countries in Asia, South America, Europe that have representative-based currencies. We were on a representative standard called the gold standard. I'm sure you've heard of that before. And we got taken off of that in '71 because we outgrew it, honestly. We were lending and borrowing too much, and the amount of money that we needed to continue to grow our economy, we didn't have the amount of gold to represent that. So we ended up switching to a fiat currency. Store of value also is largely based around scarcity and something called a stock to flow ratio. So stock to flow, to put simply, is how much of the currency is getting interjected into the monetary system, how fast. A more expensive currency will have a lot more scarcity to it and have less being interjected at the same time, whereas you could take the example of the pandemic crisis, where you saw 2/3 of the amount of dollars in circulation get printed just in those couple years, and that's why we're having such economic issues right now, because it destabilized our currency.
Yeah.
That's why everything shot up, and that's the perfect example for a stock to flow ratio. Another thing I like to talk about that rarely gets talked about with people in the monetary world is capturability. And can someone steal it? Can the government ban or collect it? And that has happened with gold 2 times. Before World War I, before World War II, and right now the Federal Reserve is actually considering a confiscation and general, they'll pay out a certain amount, a premium, but we might not be allowed to have gold if our economy continues to move forward, because they will need to get it back, because there are Eastern-based commodities that are kind of crippling the dollar that are based around gold right now. So my favorite story about it is before World War II happened, the Federal Reserve said, we are giving you a premium for your gold and it's illegal to hold gold anymore. And they needed it because their war coffers were so low that it was the only way that they could fund and eventually win World War II. So people got paid out a minimum premium for their gold, and if they got caught with their gold and didn't take the premium, it would just be confiscated. So that's something very big to take in when talking about stores of value. So our favorite, and what we're all here for in a sense, eventually, is investments. Poor people work for money, rich people make their money work for them. This is one of my favorite quotes. Investments hedge you against inflation, makes your money work for you. Adds to your income through passive or portfolio income. You can end up retiring. Nobody wants to work for the rest of their lives, so we save our money now. Great resources that an average person will typically have at a job is a 401k. Many people opt in to buy into them, and you can get a 4 to 8%, sometimes 10% return annually if you get a nice 401k. Also depends on the market. That's why I say 4 to 10. But these are definitely, we're going to do a whole class on investments, so I don't want to go super into it now. But obviously this is another key factor with currency. Here are some investable markets. Stock markets, 5 major exchanges are the NYSE, the NASDAQ, SSE, TSE, and HKEX. So the last 3 are different continents, but those are the 5 biggest exchanges in the world. We have the commodities market for the US that's based out of Chicago. Foreign exchange, Forex, like I was saying, this is the trading of currencies amongst each other. Another great market to get into, but it's very speculative and you really need to have the data information to do it efficiently. So that's why you see those scams, or what people would call scams of like, oh, I'm doing so well in Forex. People do really well in Forex. You just have to know how to do it. I love Forex markets. That's one of my fortes. But we have futures, and this is more dependent on, that's for higher level traders, I will say. Securities in general, there are things like S&P index funds that are a little bit less volatile, less risky, that people like to buy into. Typical S&P index fund might net you 15% annually if you just sit on it. And there are tons of different securities. That's just one example that I would point out. We have bonds. More recently, because of the global economic downturn, it hasn't been a good market for it. But it depends on what you're looking at. If you're talking about a U.S. Treasury bond, which is the most common for American citizens, we're not doing too well right now, to say the very least. You have cryptocurrency, which is, again, only about 13, 14 years old at this point. And if you are a new to investing, I would say shy away from that until you get some foundation for just like a typical market structure. DeFi, decentralized finance, which is wrapped around the cryptocurrency space, but that also includes art and fractionalized art. I'm sure, we were just talking about NFTs last night. And then we have fine art, the Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci. It's another investable market that people actually do well from. Right now, fine art is outperforming every other asset class in the entire world.
Wow.
This year. I would definitely have a problem paying $100,000 for a picture, but if I can make $150,000 on it 2 years from now, it's still a solid investment. And then you have collectibles, just like what Ricky does. I shouldn't have to explain that to you, like you get it. Trading cards, shoes, cars, they're they're all part of a tradable market that is extremely beneficial and prosperous if you do it right. And then you have black markets. I just threw that in there for fun. TradingView is my go-to for tracking and charting markets. I'll be doing a course on this again in the future. Just kind of wanted to show you, and if you are interested in it, definitely put it on your list. It's a free resource. There are paid versions, but you guys wouldn't even need to do it. So, have you guys ever heard the term standard of deferred payment? To put simply, it's a loan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's you're getting a service or amount of currency now for a return with interest later. I don't know why. I know that's just a technical term, and I like to stick with it, but it's a loan, to put simply. So there are many types of loans: mortgages, cars loans, college loans, business loans, credit cards, and a few other lending practices people people use to get what they want now in exchange for their resources later. The biggest factor around this is how good is your credit, and that's another course that we'll do for another day, but just something to take into consideration. These agreements are almost always involved with amount of interest on the loan that you need to pay over time. If you can find a no interest loan with whatever you're doing, tell me where you got it, because I need that. So, we're going to start moving into the actual monetary system and settling debt and state federal taxes. So settling debt effectively will help you build good credit. With better credit, you have better opportunities when looking to use financial tools throughout your life. You're going to be able to get a mortgage easier. You're going to be able to get a nicer car because you are trusted to pay back that over time. Americans' most common debt is credit debt. It is imperative that you understand your financial situations before you open up a line of credit or even apply for a credit card. There are many different factors, including just applying for credit, that will actually affect your credit score. U.S. policymakers and authorities surrounding the debt market are the U.S. Federal Reserve, which is who creates our monetary system, the Security and Exchange Commission, which regulates the trading on the stock market and other asset classes inside the U.S. We have the Internal Revenue Service, which we pay our taxes to, and then we have government and central banks, which lends out and deals with all of us as customers within those financial transactions. So, state and federal taxes. This is another one of my favorite quotes. There are only two assurances in life: death and taxes. You need to pay your taxes every year, state and federal. And I say state and federal because depending on the job that you're working at, that will change. For example, if you work at Amazon, you don't pay state taxes, you pay a federal tax. And that's something at the end of the year that you will have to end up going back and paying for because it's not taken out of your check to begin with. Tax season starts January 23rd each year. Your employer sends out your gross income over the year, which then you want to report to the IRS. There are also other forms other than the normal W-2 that can provide you with different tax benefits. For someone like you guys, where the knowledge base isn't really there, I would say hire a CFA, a Certified Financial Analyst, or a CFP, a Certified Financial Planner. You guys have a little bit more on your plate with trying to grow your businesses, so having that information is going to help you out so much. And at the end of this course, I'll be going over 25 different tax write-offs that small business owners like us should be using at every chance that we possibly can get. And again, those people, and we have a couple in our group, are just extremely beneficial for people like us. So after going over all of that, I'd like to reiterate that money is a social construct. Now, there's so much to money, and I broke it down as much as I possibly could. It's how we live together. If we didn't have that medium of exchange and unit of account and ability to store wealth, what would we really be? It wouldn't be easy to have conversations like this because we'd be struggling to try to figure out a system. That's not good. Yeah, we'd be struggling to figure out a system to where we could do all of those things competently, securely, and in a way that it equally benefits each other. So banking is humans building wealth to cultivate their culture and expand. The American dream, let's say. And we've done it the best up to this point in history. And though that may be changing, you can obviously see over the last 150 years of our country and how far we've come. I mean, shit, we're sitting here with electricity and talking about how we're going to be growing our own businesses one day. Yeah. So it is really a social construct at the end of the day. Evolutionary prowess revolves around a resource system to make sure humans can are secure throughout their lives. Again, it gives us a sense of security. It gives us our resources that we need to survive. In 2010, the rise of decentralized finance happened, and that opened the door to cryptocurrencies and CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. And that is something that in the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years, you are going to see a lot more of, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Remember, money is just an idea at the end of the day. A dollar is just a piece of paper. It's up to the community, as I've stated so far, to put it into a real use. So now we're going to go into capital management. So positive money management practices. Banking. Everybody should have a bank account. If you're a small business owner and you don't have a bank account, I need to know how you do it, because that's crazy. Credit institutions and lending agencies. These are two large players that we're going to... Sorry, I was getting a phone call. Credit institutions and lending agencies go hand in hand with small business. This goes along with government and state and federal grants that small business owners can get. It's going to be through these institutions. Are either of you familiar with what an income statement and balance sheet is?
It's just the sheet that docks all your expenses and incomes and.
Do you know the four parts to an income statement and balance sheet?
Checks and balances?
No. So I'm going to do a whole part on that. So budgeting is another thing that is great for anybody to use. I budget all of the time through income statement and balance sheets. Investing, I can't say this enough. If you aren't investing, you are setting yourself at a massive disadvantage. Anybody watching on the stream, if you aren't investing, start. Having intensive security protocols for all of your assets. This goes to data management and personal finance. Are you guys familiar with two-factor authentication? Always use two-factor with any of your banking and lending, or banking or any type of capital that you're doing, cryptocurrency or traditional assets. You never want someone to steal what you've worked so hard for. So set up a system for you that's going to protect it as finely and securely as possible. And also staying humble. You don't always have to be a baller, and ego hurts, especially when it comes to managing your money. I could definitely tell you some horrible stories about me balling out too hard, but staying humble has helped me save a lot of my money up to this point. So, accounting and asset management. Here is a typical income statement and balance sheet. This is for an average human being. So, we have 4 parts to this. Our income statement is income and expenses. And then our balance sheet is assets and liabilities. So, Start with your income, subtract your expenses. Form of income includes salary, hourly wages, royalties, lawsuit payments, just to name a few. There are a lot of forms of income. I can't go over them all. In one class, we'd be here all day. Forms of expense, or those are the most common that you're going to see on an income statement. So forms of expenses include anything that is necessary for your survival. This includes food, shelter, transportation, taxes. Those are 4 things that you are always going to have to take into consideration when living.
Wi-Fi.
Unfortunate. Well, not Wi-Fi. That's definition, or I'll move to that in a second. Definition of expense. An expense is a cost that businesses incur in running their operations. Expenses include wages, salaries, maintenance, rent, depreciation. So, expenses are deducted from revenue to hopefully arrive at a profit. Definition of liabilities. So liabilities are articles in our portfolio that drain money from our accounts. They are not necessary, but help us optimize or just simply have a better life. That's what Wi-Fi would fall into.
Yeah.
So that would be more of a liability at this end. Liabilities include loans, accounts payable if you have employees or people that you are currently working with, mortgages, deferred revenues, bonds, warranties, accrued expenses. These are things that are not necessary, but they make living or creating a business a hell of a lot easier. What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
Ricky,
Hey,
Greg.
How are you?
How are you?
Good to see you.
Good. 2 guys from the Mercer County Business Network.
All right, ready?
So, with the amount left from our income statement, we are going to subtract our liabilities at that point. And hopefully, you would still be in a plus or at least break even at that point. Definition of an asset. Assets are financial tools that you can add to your portfolio that help you generate your wealth over time. Financial assets include commodities, 401ks, Roth IRAs if you've heard of it, stocks, bonds, ETFs, which is short for exchange tradable funds. You may have heard that term in the stock market. There are also inverse forms of it, which is a short on the stock market. Index funds and other securities, like I was mentioning before in the asset sector, cryptocurrencies, fine art, and then digital art like NFTs, etc. Alternative currencies, and again, these have only popped up in 2011. Bitcoin figured out what we called the double spend problem. So before Bitcoin came up, there was an issue with digital currencies that they couldn't figure out a way to where, let's say I was in America and you were in Europe and you were in Asia. There's a huge ledger system that we're all trying to figure out who's transacting with who, and digital currencies couldn't figure out that if me and Greg transacted, it wouldn't be able to go on your ledger system so that you would know, or so that the system would know to not spend that money over again. Bitcoin figured out that problem so that we could have a global ledger system without the ability to spend more than what a single person actually had in their wallet. This is why Bitcoin ended up becoming the #1 cryptocurrency and the only decentralized cryptocurrency that actually exists in the world. So in 2009, Bitcoin became the first cryptocurrency to fix the double spend problem. Since then, there has been an explosion of cryptocurrencies based around blockchain-based ledger. More than 28,000 cryptocurrencies currently exist. Many of them are pump and dumps, and again, I will do a class on that so that we have more information on that. Bitcoin is the only true decentralized currency in the entire world. Now, this is extremely controversial in the cryptocurrency space because everybody wants to think that their crypto is decentralized, and it really isn't. Fun fact, Ethereum, 36% of Ethereum right now is owned by 2 different companies. That doesn't sound real decentralized to me. One of them is Coinbase, actually. They own more than like 20% of the node system for Ethereum.
There's other. Don't tell me BlackRock.
No, it's another obscure investment company. So again, I never suggest people get involved with crypto if they don't understand a normal monetary system to begin with, because unless you know the fundamentals, you don't want to move into that technical market. So at the end of our income statement and balance sheet, we want to add the profits or loss that our assets have accrued or diminished over the time period that you're using this analysis for. So let's say that each section we're looking at a month's worth of data. The end result will show you the value of your own capital management practices. If they're good, you'll have a profit. If not, well, maybe that's why you're here. So let's go into asset management. Assets everyone should have in their portfolio. Now, if you're a typical person just working a job, a 401k is definitely going to be one of your best bets. It's just a way to put away wealth and store it in a place where it will most likely appreciate over time. Stocks are a very simple way to, again, have assets in your portfolio. And, depending on the market situation, they will typically do very well for you. We have also dividend producing stocks. I myself have JP Morgan and Pfizer, and I get quarterly payments from 4 to 6% per quarter on all of the stock, or all the total amount of stock that I own. I just have to make sure that I hold it for that 4-month period. So a lot of the profits that I make from cryptocurrency, I'll shift into my stock accounts, buy dividends, and then I'll just have those dividends accruing.
Now, do they give you like more stock, like a percentage of more stock?
Yeah, so let's say I have 50,000 in JP Morgan stocks.
Yeah.
Every quarter, every 3 months, I'll get 4% on that 50,000. It just automatically gets added to more JP Morgan stock.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah.
That makes sense? It's a dividend. That's the definition of a dividend.
4% of the stocks.
4% of the total amount that I...
Times 4, 16 a year. And then
Or,
also
well,
the stock appreciation on top of that.
or depreciation.
Yeah.
Or depreciation.
So commodities, gold, silver coins, or banknotes, precious metals, gems, etc. Stuff that's actually physical. Rare metals. There's a lot that goes into that. A business is an asset. And you guys know that. You have a business, I have a business, Greg wants to start one. Real estate can be an asset, but not if you're living in your house. If you're living in your house and you have a mortgage, then it is a liability. Not even an expense. Mortgages are liabilities. So, and then you have alternative currencies, cryptocurrencies, digital real estate, NFTs, fractionalized art, fine art, etc. Starting your own business. Benefits of starting a business. You work to make your dreams come true, not someone else's. And I feel like a lot of us come out to the event because we don't want to work for other people, and we do want to do what makes us happy or what we're passionate about at the end of the day. So if you have a good idea, it can be very profitable. And it's about setting up that network and business infrastructure that will help you out the most at the end of the day. Taxes get more complicated, but you can also write off more expenses, which allows you to save more money over time. That's one reason of why I have my LLC, because I know all of the tax write-offs that can save me money at the end of the day just for everyday stuff I'm already doing. You create your own work schedule. That's one of my favorite parts too. If I get up one day and I don't want to work, or if I want to take half the day off, I can do that and I don't have to worry about any, backlash. You can focus on your passions. And again, I believe that that's why we're all here tonight. So liabilities of starting a business. Takes money to make money. Another favorite quote of mine. Depending on the sector you work in, you can be sued. Greg is will eventually be a doctor, and that will be something where he could have medical malpractice or something along that lines where he will be in a legally actionable position. Hopefully that never happens.
Hopefully.
But so finding something sustainable can be difficult, and that's something that me and Ricky have been talking about a lot lately, because it's that sustainability that you want in your business that's going to make it most beneficial for you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Finding a helpful team can be even more difficult than that, and that's another reason of why I started our network, because the resources and opportunities that we provide each other are going to be most beneficial for us at the end of the day. That's why I want more people to come out. That's why I invite people out all the time. And it's definitely something that I've been trying to work on in my own business, is taking that liability out of it. If you really want to start a business, time management, resource management, capital management are going to be the biggest factors. And again, that's why I'm going to do classes and workshops on each subject, so that we have a better understanding in a communicative sense, which will again make it easier to work with each other as well as push our businesses forward. So how to start a business, and this is specific to New Jersey. You will need to file for an EIN number through the Department of Revenue. And there are easy ways to do that, or you could just get the paper yourself and fill it out through the Department of Revenue. If you want less of a problem, you can have people like LegalZoom do it for you. It costs about $350 if I'm not mistaken, and then you can also get other services through them, including tax representation, legal representation, and it's a great resource for someone that really doesn't have that time to create independently create their LLC. Once you have your EIN number, you will be able to make your business registration, or make sure you will have to make sure that your business registration has gone through your local state clerk's office. It's as simple as just going there with your documents and processing them. You will receive a notice from the state treasury office when it's complete. I'll just show you mine real quick so that you can get up.
Sorry.
Very good. Space. Thank you. So just get a paper like this, just denoting that the state treasurer has reviewed and accepted your business as a legal business within the state of New Jersey. So once you have the go-ahead to start your business, you're going to want to start a business bank account with a creditor, local, state, or national bank. And to give you an example, I went to Bank of America and set up a business account with them. It was convenient. You have to take into consideration the benefits that you want out of your bank. For certain businesses, maybe going with a local bank is going to be a lot better for you. In other cases where I want something that's going to be, eventually years down the line, I might want to take this to a continental or intercontinental. So I want a bigger bank because I'm going to have more resources and liquidity. But if you're a smaller business owner, a local bank might hit you with less fees, which will end up being more beneficial for you at the end of the day. So that's definitely something to take into consideration when you're starting your own business, and it's something that you're going to have to talk to them about as you continue to grow it. You're going to set up your capital management infrastructure. Are you doing your taxes through Intuit QuickBooks? Are you doing your payment systems through Apple Pay, Square, PayPal? Again, you have to look into the actual organization of what you're going through to see what's going to be most beneficial for your wallet at the end of the day. I love using Apple Pay. It's just really convenient. I can get something like Square and then have my Apple Pay transactions go through that. and just makes doing business with people easy and simple because my payment methods just go right through. And then they hit my accounts. Market yourself to the best of your abilities. And I know like it's a very rare thing to hear about in this day and age, but public relations campaigns and being a good person goes a really long way in this day and age. You see me at Killarney's all the time. I shake everyone's hand. I, make sure that I'm acknowledging them. I try to be my best person whenever I go out, and it has benefited me largely. It's why I have a large network. It's why people are willing to.
You never know who's watching either.
Exactly. And, yeah.
Somebody might see something and then not want to go into business with you, or see something they really like, And
we had that the example with the member who stepped out of lines and got excommunicated.
Yeah.
So public relations is going to be a huge thing, especially if you want to be the head of a business. You have to hold yourself and if you have employees accountable while cultivating a healthy culture within your business. And the one thing that I hold above everything, especially if you are growing a business, is what is the culture of your business? Because I can't tell you how many companies that I've worked for where I'm like, this is a toxic environment. This is, the management's lazy. The employees are going against every professional aspect that I could possibly think of, but they're also not being held accountable by their higher ups, which is continuing to cultivate those bad habits, which is eventually going to lead their business to spiral, whether you look at it or not. It's a matter of time after that. So again, it's one reason why I talk about accountability at our meetings so much, and something that I want ingrained in all of our heads, especially moving forward, because if we don't have anybody holding us accountable, then what's making us hold ourselves accountable? So once you turn a profit, we can reinvest, expand, and then repeat. You have a business, you want to make capital so that you can start another business. I have a few businesses myself. Greg, this is basically going to be your thing. If you want to start something after that and you do well at what you want to do, you're going to have the availability to do that. And that's what you want to do at the end of the day, because you're trying to break out of the rat race. I don't know if you guys have ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The rat race is just that 9 to 5 never-ending cycle of getting up, going to work, not liking where you're at, and repeat at the end of the day. So, we're all here as either business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs, and that's something that we really want to break the cycle of at the end of the day. So external factors to consider, and I'll just point these out. Does your business need special permits to do the work that you plan to do? Greg's does. He's going to need his physical therapy license.
Yeah.
For people like you and I, unless I got into financial consulting, I would need my Series 65, which I am considering getting at this point. But for someone like you, you don't need that.
Right.
But if, let's say someone wanted to do constructions, they would need to get the proper permits to do the jobs that they need through the state or township or whatever they were going through. So that's something that I always point out for people that are in our network that, want that flexibility. And you always, when it comes down to legality, don't fuck around with legality. Do your best to be as pure and good as possible. So do you need a professional license to participate in the type of work you're doing? Again, Greg will eventually be a doctor, so he'll have his license. Financial advisors like myself, I would need a Series 65 to do what I need to do. And then some states require a seller's permit to conduct sales. So I used to work on a marketing campaign called Inspire, and I needed to orchestrate through each township to make sure that the people that were going to door had an effective permit so that they could knock on doors and not get the cops called them and kicked out the neighborhood. So it's another thing that if you're doing those type of sales or marketing jobs, you're going to need to take into consideration. So who is going to help you find out all of the correct information to keep your business within lawful regulations? I will. That's what I do for a living. I'm a consultant, so that's why I have a diverse spectrum of knowledge with a little bit of everything at this point. So here are some tax write-offs, 25 tax write-offs that every single business owner should be using. I don't care who you are. The more that you can write off in a legal framework, the more money that you're going to be saving at the end of the year. So why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
You can write off just about anything off on your taxes. Just have a professional reason to do it. Business expenses can be written off with a 1099 form. These include car expenses and mileage, office expenses, office supplies, health insurance premiums, business phone calls. Dad, can you turn that off?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Business phone calls, continuing education courses, parking for business-related trips, also including travel, business meals, and I'm going to go over a lot more, but those are just some to name a few. So, writing off work-related travel expenses. All work-related travel expenses can be written off at tax time. This includes airfare, hotels, rental car expenses, tips on your meals, dry cleaning, and meals, just to name a few. You can reference the IRS website for a full list of deductible business travel expenses. Here is what you need to qualify for this write-off. The trip must be necessary for your business. The trip must take you away from your tax home, i.e. the city or area in which your company conducts its business. For me, it would be Hamilton, New Jersey. And then you must be traveling away from your tax home longer than a normal workday. So typically a normal workday is 8 hours. So again, this is a very flexible write-off that people can have.
And question.
Yeah.
Necessary for your business can be very
Gray.
That's a beautiful thing.
Which is because I've heard at least that you can legitimately take a vacation with all your best friends.
I'm going to show.
I'm
going to show.
As long as you show that you had a meeting with minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you how to do it in a minute. But yeah, you must be traveling away from your tax home longer than a normal workday, and it must require you to sleep or rest en route. So one idea that I want to have for our group is I want to go to a Dave Matthews concert for my birthday, and it's only down in Camden, but it's taking me away from my tax home, and I was going to invite everybody from the Mercer County Business Meetup and then just write it off on my expenses at the end of the year.
Alright.
So I would get a motel down there. I would be longer than 8 hours that I'm going to be leaving.
Is tax home based on your town of origin or the county?
The town that your business is located in. Town, not county.
So it could literally be
we could go to Princeton so on the 16th I'm going to Princeton for a tax lien seminar. If I stayed in Princeton that night, I could write off that whole expense. I'm only 15 miles away. Again, there's a lot of flexibility within writing off. And
like
again,
when I went to Florida 2 years ago, right? And that's why there's like the gray area or whatever. But like on almost every single day, I did something for like my business. Like I stopped at thrift shops. I was like traveling in different places, like meeting people on Facebook Marketplace and getting merchandise down there while I was down there meeting up with people. I actually set up routes before I even went down. I'm doing it this time too. So I'm actually meeting up with people already. Like in the past month, I've been meeting up with people on Facebook Marketplace. Like, hey, I'm going to be there the week of March 12th to 20th. I'm going to be in the Kissimmee area, and I'm going
as long as he documents all of that.
40-minute radius. I'm in a 40-minute radius. I'm going to be picking up a whole bunch of like collectibles and stuff while I'm down there. And then Lisa, my girlfriend, for her business, she's actually meeting up with some people down there that she's networking with. So,
and as long as you do all of the hours, distance, and make sure that you can write it off at the end of the year, that's a write-off for them. So Writing off work-related car use. If you use a car strictly for work-related purposes, you can write off all costs associated with operating and maintaining it. If your car use is mixed between business and personal reasons, you can only deduct costs that are related to business usage of the vehicle. You can claim the mileage you use for business driving either by deducting the actual miles traveled for business or by using the standard mile deduction of 56 cents per mile driven. And again, you have all of that, or you'll have all of this information in the PowerPoints. Mm-hmm. So again, another huge factor. 56 cents off the mile is a hell of a lot of money, especially if you're driving dozens, hundreds, maybe 1,000 plus miles over a month,
And that's.
Or what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say it's more than gas costs, but then again, there's the depreciation of your vehicle. So
exactly.
I get why it's.
So writing off business insurance, you can deduct the cost of your business insurance on your tax return. If you have a home office or use a portion of your home office that you run your business through, you can deduct your renter's insurance costs as part of your own home office write-offs. And that's something that I also do each year. It saves me a ton of money. I love it. And I also don't pay rent here, so it's very nice. Writing off home office expenses. This is unfortunately not available in New Jersey. We have too much of a high population density, and they would just lose so much money as a state if this was possible. But under new simplified IRS guidelines for home office expenses, home-based small businesses and freelancers can deduct $5 per square foot of your home that is used for business purposes, up to a maximum of 300 square feet. To qualify as it, and this is available in most other states, but to qualify as a tax deduction, your work area has to be used exclusively for business, i.e. you can't write off the square footage of your dining room if you do work at the table during the day, and you need to use your home office regularly as your principal place for conducting business. Now, I don't eat dinner here. I really don't. And he'll tell you, like, you just saw him eating in the corner over there. Like, we don't use, this is my workspace, so that's how I get around that. Writing off office supplies. This is available, and everything else is available in NJ. That's the only one. You can write off office supplies, including printers, paper, pens, computers, and work-related software, which is huge. I have over, let's say, $4,000 in subscriptions that I use just for my investment tools. And like I've been telling you, I run a data farm. So I have high-end banking apps and infrastructure that is giving me global financial information that I can write all of that off at the end of the year, and it saves me a lot of money. Like, I have 2 subscriptions alone that are $900 a year and $700 a year, and that's just like one of 10 or 11 that I use.
Yeah.
So it gets rough, and that's a huge savior for me at the end of the day. But you can write off office supply, or you can also deduct work-related postage and shipping costs, which would be huge for you as well. Be sure to file all of your receipts for your home office supply purchases for documentation. So if you haven't started doing that yet, start. Writing off phone and internet. If you're using phone and internet, it's vital to running your business. You can deduct these expenses. If, however, you use phone and internet for a mix of work and personal reasons, you can only write off the percentage of the cost that goes towards your business use. For example, if roughly half of your internet usage is business related, you can write off 50% of your internet expenses for the year. Another great resource, because all I do is sit in front of a computer all day.
Yeah, me too.
Writing off business interest and bank fees. If you borrow money to fund your business activities, the bank will charge you interest on the loan. Come tax season, you can deduct the interest charged both on business loans and business credit cards. You can also write off any fees and additional changes of your business bank account and credit card, such as monthly service fees and any other annual credit card fees. So I'm sure we all use credit here in one form or another. And again, having the ability to write off that interest can save you a ton of money. Writing off depreciation, and this is huge with cars. But when you deduct depreciation, you're writing off the cost of a big ticket item like a car or machinery over the useful lifetime of that item, rather than deducting it all in one go for a single tax year. Businesses usually deduct the depreciation for long-term business investments that are more costly. So they're reimbursed for the expense over the entire useful lifetime of an item. Here's how to calculate depreciation, and it's the total cost of the asset over the useful lifetime of the asset. Now, depending on what asset that you're talking about, let's say you own a construction company and you need a bulldozer. You can find out what the useful lifetime of that asset would be, or what a bulldozer asset, just by Googling it. And then you would be able to do that algorithm through it. So let's say
at the same time, it would equal the same amount, correct? Because you'd be writing off the entire cost of what it costs on one end, or you could split it up over 20 years. But
smart business owners will pay it in the first year.
At the end of the day, it's
But again, so for example,
the same amount, right? That would be deducted.
I had a friend that did this with a BMW. He paid $55,000. No, I'm sorry. It was like a really nice car, but he runs like some sort of automotive service. He paid $155,000 for the car, and he would have paid over his 3-year loan on it $55,000 more. He got to write off that $55,000 because he paid it off in a year. So where he would have paid $210,000 for the car, he paid $155,000 for the car, and his business paid off the car with all of the profits that he made from it. So that's how you would do that algorithm. The faster that you can pay it off, the more taxes that you're going to be able to accrue, or the more taxes saved that you're going to be able to accrue. So writing off professional service fees, and this is another thing that I use for my consulting company, but any professional service fees that are necessary to functioning, or that are necessary to the functioning of your business, such as legal, accounting, or bookkeeping services, are deductible for tax purposes. I do this with my CFA. But if you use accounting or bookkeeping softwares for your businesses, like Intuit QuickBooks, let's say, that would also qualify as a tax deduction. If you're having trouble determining whether a particular service expense is for work or personal use, these guidelines for legal and professional fees from the IRS can help you judge the nature of your expense. And you would just go on the IRS website, and there is a link in their information sector that can give you a whole list of what these services fall under. Writing off salary and benefits. So if you're a small business owner with employees, you can write off their salaries, benefits, and even vacation pay for your own taxes. There are few requirements for writing off salary and benefit expenses. The employee can't be a sole owner, partner, or LLC member in the business. Let's say me and Ricky had an LLC and you were our employee. I couldn't write off Ricky, but I could write off you. That's what it comes down to. The salary is reasonable and necessary. So let's say we pay you $42,000 a year, and but you are our number one. Let's say we have a physical therapist firm, and we're all physical therapists. If you are providing a good service and consistency to our firm, we can write you off. It's no problem. And then the services delegated to the employee were provided. So whatever, let's say we gave you a benefits and bonus over the year, as long as we provided you those benefits and you got your bonus, you fall within the legal realm. So writing off charitable contributions, and this is something that I've been looking into recently because
can you write off the business cost to provide those benefits?
Yeah,
or only
that's
the
what
salary.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So your salary would be included because again, remember, with salary it gets automatically taken out with everything. So your state and federal taxes is what's going through your benefits and everything. So you can deduct charitable donations that make you qualify, or that you make to qualifying organizations. If your business is set up as a sole proprietorship, LLC, or partnership, you can claim these expenses on your personal tax forms. If your company is a corporation, you can claim charitable donations on your corporate tax return. For example, I'm trying to find charities in the Mercer County area and then start doing events that will benefit them so that I can have more write-offs at the end of the year for my own personal organization. And because I'm also community development, a lot of my business is around community development. It makes it that much easier. And, obviously I'll probably be able to write off a lot more because of that. So.
And it could, didn't Michael Jordan make the biggest charitable donation just to drop down a tax bracket and then end up saving more money?
It's an extremely solid resource for people like us. Yeah.
They were all praising him, which is nice and all, but it was personal motives the whole time.
Yeah. He's only a billionaire already. So writing off education. Any educational expenses you incur to bring value into your business are fully deductible for tax purposes. The requirements for education-related expenses are that the course or workshop must improve your skills or help maintain your professional expertise. Educational expenses that qualify for deductions include courses and classes related to your fieldwork, seminars and webinars, trade publication subscriptions, books related to your industry. So my entire bookshelf upstairs I pay with my business credit card, and I get to write all of that off. Another example is I'm going to a tax lien workshop in Princeton on the 16th. You guys are free to join me for that. It's just I want to go to that for my financial side. And I'm writing off that whole expense through this write-off. And, it should be informative, and at the same time, I get to save some money at the end of the year. And then go chill in Princeton for a day. But this is another great resource, and for someone like you, where you are going to have to do these certain courses and continued education to maintain your status, this is something that you're obviously going to be using more often than not. So writing off child and dependent care, and I don't think any of us have kids, so this doesn't really affect. You don't have kids, right, Ricky?
No.
All right. So if we did, costs you incur for caring for children or adult dependents, because it can be an older person as well. If your own children are 12 years or older, you can write off costs associated with their care. Another fun fact, you can also claim your child and pay them a salary of a certain point. I believe it's $12,800 a year for New Jersey. And that's not with this, but you can pay your child a salary and save on your taxes. Adult dependents also qualified for deductions, including spouses and some other related adults who are unable to care for themselves because of physical or mental disability.
That's like if you're a business owner and then you have your child,
let's say my dad
they want to give you an incentive there because the legacy
Absolutely.
They want.
Or let's say my dad had dementia.
Right.
I would be able to take him on as a dependent, and that would help me out with taking care of him. So that's why they give these people credit at the end of the day. Writing off energy efficiency expenses, and this has been huge over the last few years because of the whole environmental social governance movement. But upgrades that you make to your home to ensure it's more energy efficient can qualify your tax credit or for your tax credits. This also includes your personal business. You can claim up to 30% of the cost of alternative energy equipment for your home, including solar panels, solar water heaters, and wind turbines. The IRS site offers further details on home energy tax credits, and believe me, there are tons right now because of the whole ESG movement. So another to look into for sure, especially if you own a home or eventually want to own a home. So writing off investments, and this is my favorite because this is how I make most of my money. If you borrow money in order to make investments, you can write off the interest paid on the loan. You can deduct the interest up to the point that it matches what you earned in the investment income. And the amount of money that I spend on margin it almost made me throw up. I've been doing my taxes now that we're in tax season. When my CFA had told me how much I actually spent to get loans for my investing, I literally almost fainted. Like, I texted Ben and I was like, I didn't know that it was this much. I made over 4,000 trades last year. I put it to you that way. And I use margin on a lot of my trades, which means that I'm taking a loan from the exchange to get the position that I want. So that adds up, and this is one of the biggest things that helps me at the end of the year. So writing off foreign earned income exclusion. You might be able to fall into this. I don't know if you ship outside of the American network, but this might work for you. American citizens with business based abroad can, under certain circumstances, leave the foreign income they've earned off of their tax returns. So you don't even have to pay for foreign tax. To qualify for the exclusion, your tax home must be based abroad. So this article can help you better understand, and if you wanted that, it's on the IRS tax website again.
Yeah, mine though is through eBay.
So it wouldn't be abroad.
Right.
Gotcha. Writing off medical expenses. You can claim both insurance premiums and medical care expenses, including doctor's fees, prescription drugs, and home care. If you are self-employed and pay for your own health insurance, then you can deduct your health and dental care insurance premiums. Again, we're all going to end up doing that, so it's a whole very beneficial for us. Writing off real estate taxes. Real estate taxes paid at the state and local levels can be deducted on your income taxes. Property taxes are included in these deductions, and you can claim up to a total of $10,000 a year doing this. So another huge benefit that you can have if you're a homeowner or a commercial business owner. Writing off mortgage interest. So if you have a mortgage, you can deduct interest payments made towards mortgage loans to buy, construct, or improve your home if you use a home for business purposes. If you take out loans against your equity, home equity loan, you could also deduct the interest of those loans. And again, this is if you have an LLC. Writing off moving expenses. If you move and the main reason for you doing so is work related, you might be able to fully deduct the costs associated with your move. To qualify, your home has to to qualify, your move has to pass the distance test. To pass the distance test, your new job location has to be at least 50 miles farther than your former home than your old job location was from your previous home. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so 50 plus miles. Writing off retirement contributions. And if you have a 401k or Roth IRA, this is for you. If you contribute to an individual retirement account, IRA, doing so helps reduce your taxable income for the year. Your total IRA contributions can't exceed the total income you've earned that year, or it can't exceed the annual maximum contribution, whichever one is less. And again, that's something that you would have to look at the calculations for in your own perspective. Writing off advertising and promotion, and again, that's something that we're all going to do at some point or another if we own a business. So you can fully deduct expenses related to promoting your business, including digital and print advertising, website design and maintenance, and the cost of printing business cards. Believe me, it adds up over the years, and it's a great resource to use. Writing off client and employee entertainment. And this is something that I do with you guys every Tuesday. My tab is basically paid through this, but if you take business clients out, you can deduct the expenses as long as you discuss business during the meeting and the entertainment takes place in a business setting for business purposes. This is why we use Killarney's. I'm also somewhat partnered with them in what I do. So you can deduct 50% of the cost of these entertainment expenses. You can also deduct up as much as 100% of the cost of social events held for your employees. Now, when we start having other venues that we go to, this is a credit that I'm definitely going to use at the end of the year for if we use the Hamilton Library and I'm paying $40 an hour for a classroom, that's going to add up over the year.
Yeah.
So this is a huge resource for me. You look like you had a question.
Yeah, this is probably a long shot, but is there any way that you could write off stuff that you didn't write off in previous years that qualify
Speak
for
to
a
your
write-off?
CFA, because that is possible. Yep. You would have to have, again, those receipts and documents to justify it. But yeah, you could definitely, you would have to talk to a tax specialist though, for sure. Writing off startup expenses. So if you launched a new business venture in the last year, I did this with the current currencies. I just, this had went through November 14th, 2022. You can deduct up as much as $5,000 in a startup expenses that you incurred in the lead up to your business launch. So anything that I had put into this before that date of November 14th, I could write off. That can include costs associated with marketing your new business, traveling, and training costs. Training involves yourself too, not only your employees. Those were 25, and I will take questions, comments, concerns, and what did you guys think of the workshop?
It's a good baseline.
And yes, this is the baseline. We're going to definitely be growing on top of this with, intricacies, and then taking on specific subjects within this
Yeah.
and building on them. But
That's great because there was like a lot of information, so it kind of got like
absolutely,
the wheel spinning on a bunch of things that you
Absolutely.
don't think about, or that you did think about that you forgot about, and then now you're thinking about it again.
exactly.
Because there's so much going on with, business, squirrel brain, and all that stuff.
Basically, each section that you saw today, we are going to have singular courses for
Okay.
in their entirety.
Right.
And why I have this course as Capital Management 101 is because this is just a step into the door
Yeah.
for our further learning. And I want everybody to be on this same baseline once we move into more complicated and advanced classes.
Yeah.
But any questions on what we went over tonight?
Not so much. I do need you to send me it again though. It's not popping up.
Look in your
my-
junk mail.
Yeah.
What, the slide?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not here.
Let me check and see if I got it. Let me see.
I'm excited for a workshop on how to
Oh, I didn't
Chart.
send it.
uh,
So you want the investment?
I think that I think that'd be really interesting because I look at charts and immediately get flustered.
Yeah, I could definitely do a
I didn't get it either.
I didn't send it.
Oh. It's there. Are you trying to airdrop it? Oh no, you don't.
Oh
need to.
wait, you know what I'm going to do actually? It's too big. That's why I can't email it. I'll have to send it to you in a
Google Drive.
I'm going to send you in a OneDrive, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm going to conclude the course tonight, and